First up, let's just quickly go through the buffs, like the food and the potions you're going to be using. So, if you are crafting your own gear, what I would reckon is that you get a turnip salad. This means that you're going to increase the crafting speed and also quality of your gear that you're making. So, for example, on this Novice Scholar's Cowl, the item power is 300 because the quality is normal. Whereas on these Journeyman's Mercenary Shoes, normal would be 500 item power, but I've got outstanding and therefore it's 540. Making something like a turnip salad, if you have access to this, or just buying turnip salads on the marketplace, this is going to increase the quality of gear you're crafting. If you're not crafting your own gear and you're buying it on the marketplace, then don't worry. For the food, we're going to be using something like a goat stew is great, that increases combat damage for a long period of time, meaning obviously more damage. If you are a beginner and you're not sure about foods and potions, then don't worry. You can just do the rest of this guide without having to worry about that just yet. On the potions we're going to be using, however, I would recommend minor healing potions to start with, to get some health back, and maybe energy potions should you need them. At tier 4, however, we're going to be using minor poison potions so we can do damage over time to our enemies. Now then, let's start off by talking about the gear you're going to be using at tiers 2 and 3. Often the weapons we're using and the gear we're using is not going to be as specific until we get up to tier 4, so we may be changing this. So for the boot slot, I would recommend going with the Novice Soldier's Boots at tier 2. This is going to give you a rejuvenating spirit buff, increasing your movement speed and healing over 5 seconds, so a bit healing and a bit of speed there. Simply upgrade them at tier 3 to the Journeyman's version for the same buff but better, and then you can also get max load if you need it for carrying more items, or toughness to increase some of your defense. For the head slot, I'd recommend the Novice Scholar's Cowl. That's because it gives Force Field, which is a knockback, so you can interrupt your enemy spellcasting and also knock them back, as well as getting a passive increasing damage and healing. Same again at tier 3, upgrade it for a better version, and go with Aggression again. And don't forget, like I said, you may be swapping these out completely at tier 4, but just at tier 2 and 3, these are going to be the quickest and easiest items to get you going on your journey before we build out the whole build at tier 4. On the chest armor, it's Beginner's Mercenary Jacket, then a Novice's Mercenary Jacket, and then a Journeyman's Mercenary Jacket from tiers 2 to 3. This gives you the Inferno Shield ability, where you can basically put a shield on yourself, reducing damage taken, but also reflecting damage back at your attacker. We can also increase damage and healing and defense from the passive we get on this item. Before we move on to weapons and what we're going to be doing at tier 4 to build out the actual build itself, I just want to mention that the Novice's Bag is what you'll be starting off with your bag, and then if you can get tier 3 and 4 of these, just get the most expensive bag you can get. That's going to increase your carry capacity. Same for the cloak. Just get the most expensive one you can get, or the best tier, and that is going to increase energy regeneration. Finally, we're going to look at the tier 4 armor and then the actual weapons we're going to be using for this Adept's Spear build. Number 1. On your feet, on those lovely tootsies of yours, we're going to put the Adept's Soldier Boots. Basically, giving the same ability as before, again, but better. Then we're going to go over to the head slot, because it's closest, where we're going to get the Adept Mage's Cowl. And the cool thing about this is we actually get Fire Breath, where we can actually do massive fire damage, igniting enemies in a cone in front of us. So pretty self-explanatory there. Lastly, onto the jacket, or the chest piece. It's going to be, again, the Adept's Mercenary Jacket. And the main thing that this gives us is Bloodlust. And this is one of my favourite items at this tier. Giving into our Bloodlust, restoring health whenever we deal damage. And it can apply up to 7 times, meaning we can get health back and do damage at the same time, which is phenomenal. Finally, the weapon. So you're going to start off, because it's like a melee-ish kind of thing, Beginner's Broadsword, just doing your Heroic Strike and your Heroic Cleave, which you've probably seen from the tutorial anyway. Novice's Broadsword, however, gets a bit more exciting. This is at tier 2. So Heroic Strike is single target, Cleave is multi-target. We can swing around like a lunatic in a cyclone, and also Mighty Blow, where basically you leap towards an enemy, interrupting their spellcasting, which is really useful. So at tier 3, we can actually get our weapon, which is the Journeyman's Spear, and this is where we change what we actually go for. Lunging Strike, and it's not made in the thingy, it's made at the Ranger's place. Stab all enemies in a 10-meter long line in front of you, dealing damage, slowing them, and applying 1 Spirit Spear charge for each enemy hit. So what does that do? It increases our physical auto-attack damage and can stack. Then we have Forest of Spears, which is a flurry of stabs in a cone in front of us while channeling, dealing damage. We then have Reckless Charge, where we dash towards the target's position, throwing all enemies you pass through into the air, interrupting them, and dealing damage based on the Spirit Spear charges that we have on us. Now remember, Spirit Charge is coming from the Lunging Strike. So you use Lunging Strike to get those charges, and then use them on Reckless Charge. After Tier 3, we can obviously go up to Tier 4, where we can just go up to the Adept Spear. You do get some more abilities, but we're still going to be using Forest of Spears. That's why I'm telling you to use it. So you're going to use the same ones that I have mentioned there. And that is the simple abilities we will be using as a Spear user in a beginner build for Albion Online. If you're looking for other beginner builds, then check out the playlist you see on screen. And if any of these concepts are unfamiliar to you, then check out the Ultimate Beginner's Guide that I've also done on the playlist you see on screen now.